Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, our Christmas special. So not really Weekend Watch, but festive period watch, but it's not quite as catchy as Weekend Watch now, is it? My name is Kate Tracey, alongside Dave Young and Andrew Mack, to look forward to some of the key races over the festive period. So we've got a whole load of races to go at. Of course, we don't have our declarations as such. So this is more of an overview, giving you an idea of where we're going to be going with some of our bets as well. Now, of course, we kickstart on Boxing Day. This is, for racing fans, Christmas Day in itself. It only gets better the day after Christmas Day in itself. And of course, the feature race, as always, is the King George Chase. Now, this is a Grade 1 contest over 3 miles. Comes up at 2:30 at Kempton this year. So, Dave, initially looking at the King George. Now, Grey Dawning, who we weren't entirely sure if he was going to go or not after his hard race on his reappearance start, but he has been given the green light now, seemingly so. So what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that with Grey Dawn about getting the green light, because it wasn't the original plan for him to come here. But with the fact that there's been issues with sort of Ile Francais, who has been confirmed to be coming here, and potentially horses like Brave Man's Game maybe not doing as much as they could have done this season. And then, of course, Willie Munnings putting all his horses out as well. Probably looks like a lesser renewal, but I do think that means that we're going to get a more competitive renewal. My issue with Grey Dawning is I think this type of race would really suit him. He definitely stays after what he did at Haydock, and that was on bad ground. I wonder what kind of mark that might have left. And also, I'm recently scarred, which is probably gives an insight into people about how I sometimes look at races and probably overthink them. Recently scarred by Protectorate at Huntingdon because he was really bad right-handed. And I'm not saying that Grey Dawning will specifically be really bad right-handed, but his best form is left. And I will never forget 2 years ago on Boxing Day when Grey Dawning was smashed in the market. It was a handicap debut, I think, of a mark of 123, and he only just got the better of Boar Valley after wandering around, idling and jumping pretty badly. Now, of course, that's a couple of years ago. He's entitled to have matured, but remember him as a novice. There's loads of pictures where he's banked fences and done things like that. He was good in Haydock, so his jumping does look like it's fine, but I just wonder if the fast-paced King George for him at his stage in his career might just come a little too soon, especially if he's not been fully wound up for it. Anyone that's on at decent prices, I think fair play to him, but he's about 7-2 top price at the moment. He possibly could shorten up as well. I just think he's probably too short now for all that I think the race could suit him. I'm just worried about him slightly right-handed. I'm probably going to get pelters for this as well, but please do stay tuned for the show because I'm sure I've got some better insight later. But I think at the stage we're at the moment, Brave Man's Game is the only horse you could want to bet. He's generally a 16-1 shot at the time of recording. Probably is shortened up by the time that this video comes out, but he was 25-1 a couple of days ago. That would have been the 17th of December. Now, look, I know his runs this season have been bad. I really fancied him for that Charlie Hall chase where he ran to such a low standard. The run in Haydock after, again, would have been Brian Drew wanting to run him at Haydock just for the sake of a day out. But if you think last year when Shishkin fell, Shishkin had the King George 1, but it was enough of an impairment to Brave Man's Game that it probably cost him beating Hewick. And of course, he won this race 2 years ago. Now it's the King George, and Paul Nicholls wins this race time and time again. So I think the Brave Man's Game, this would have been his plan all season anyway. There's nothing to aim for in the spring for this horse because he doesn't seem to get it done at that time of year. So at 16-1, he looks like an obvious shortener. Horses like Banbridge, again, have been well found in the market now. I can applaud people that are on at bigger prices. But how well Banbridge ran behind a Nergamine and what he did at Punchestown over 2 miles last year, I'd rather see him in the Dublin Chase over in Ireland this weekend rather than running in the King George. But this is where he's going to go. Brave Man's Game is proven round here, isn't he? And I think the 16-1 about him is a bit offensive. So I'm siding with Brave Man's Game. Lord help me.
Lord help me. At least you did anticipate the potential pelters that you might be getting, but he was second in this race last year, not beaten far to stay behind Hewick, and of course then going back to 2022 he was a winner of this race by 14 lengths no less. So this is his race to go for, and now you're getting a very big price about him as well. Andrew, who do you like for the King George?
I'm singing from a similar hymn sheet to Dave. I respect the chances of Grey Dawning. He's got the course form, which is so important in this race. Cannot be underestimated. That there is a worry that that hard race at Haydock will have taken something out of him. This might come too soon after 33 days, but I certainly wouldn't put you off backing him. Certainly in terms of exotic bets, tote exactas and trifectas, I'd want to have him in there. I don't like Banbridge. I don't think he'll stay necessarily. He comes here on the back of an unseat. Ile Francais, I do like. I have bet. He's the only bet I've had so far. because of that Quarto Star win last year in such impressive fashion. I know he was beaten last time out, but I think the last 3 times he's been beaten, he's bounced back to win. One of those, his latest defeat was when 100 to 30 on, he was beaten 55 lengths and he came out and won next time out. So on better ground, back at Kempton, I think he's going to run a big race. Corbett's Cross, whose last win came over like 3 miles 6 in the mud, I think he's going to struggle. Envoy Alan, since he's joined Henry de Bromhead, he's never backed up a win. Excuse me, I think his form figures of 6, 3, 7 and 4, so I'd avoid him. Lompresse needs to go left-handed. And so my after that, Brave Man's Game, first and second, just beaten by Ewick in the race last year from 3 runs here. I thought he'd run well. I put him up as an each way bet in addition to a bet on Royal Pagaille at Haydock last time in the Betfair. The ground was softer than ideal. You had the headgear on for the first time blinkers. And he's picked up 65 grand in his 2 runs this year for finishing 2nd and 3rd. So I don't think it's been an unsuccessful season necessarily. He's going to run a big race, and you couldn't put anyone off backing him each way. Protectorate needs to go the other way around. I don't even think he's going to run. Royal Pagaille, he prefers left-handed. He prefers Haydock. He prefers hot deep mud. You could still see him running some sort of race and finishing 3rd. But I don't necessarily. I mean, he's 33 to 1 at the moment. I mean, if he turns up at those sort of odds, then you might have to have something each way. And Founder 50's got to go the other way around. I mean, he's struggling after that. I mean, General on Chef, I must mention, he's 100 to 1. He's the Noel George and Amanda Zed home 2nd string. He was awash with sweat in the paddock ahead of the run at Newbury last time. Looked terrible. This is in the Coral Gold Cup handicap chase. Better not call it the Hennessy, otherwise James from Coral will give me a telling off. But I mean, I thought he's got no chance when I saw him in the paddock. That was the general view from every other paddock judge I spoke to. And I've ended up backing him in running. Pre-race I've laid him for a place. Then I've bet him in running to win it. And he's traded odds on, but then he's not seen the race out. He's 3.25 miles proved too far. I think he's got a bit of previous for sort of travelling well and not necessarily finding. Although coming back to a less stamina sapping trip, 3 miles on a flat track, I think if he does run, then there's no reason why General Chef couldn't actually run some sort of race and get in the first 3 or 4. But as for a bet, I'd go Ile Francais. It's a cracking race.
It is, isn't it? Like I say, it's a fascinating contest, and you can throw stones that the chances of a whole load of these in here at present. But Ile Francais, then 6 to 1 shot for Noel George and Amanda Zeta home, and the stable made then at 100 to 1 General on Chef. He does travel into his races, doesn't always find that much though, but 100 to 1 that they're bringing over as well. So fascinating this year's King George. Now we're going to stick with the domestic theme for now. We're going to go to the 27th of December at Chepstow, which is the Welsh Grand National, of course, Premier Handicap Chase. Comes up at 250 this year at Chepstow on the 27th of December. Again, as always, cracking contest, 6 to 1 the field. Mr. Vango heading the way. And Andrew, you wanted to look at this one.
Yeah, there's a few here that interest me at big prices, all trained by Sam Thomas, coincidentally. One of them is the 11-year-old I Will Do It, who's got previous in this race. I mean, finished 3rd last year and won it in 2021. He's had 3 runs in handicaps at Chepstow, first and 3rd. I say he is, well into the veteran stage now. But what's interesting is that he's normally leased to Diamond Racing. They haven't done that this year. Diamond wanted him back, but the owner refused. So I just wonder if they think that they've got him absolutely spot on. Now he goes well when fresh. I thought last year they wasted his fresh run by running in a handicap hurdle, finishing 2nd, and then came to this after a recent outing, finished 3rd. So it looks like they're going straight to this race. And Sam Thomas, so far this season, since the 1st of October, horses returning from a break of 150 days or longer. 4 winners from 14 runners for a profit of £36.50. 4 others have finished 2nd, including at 20 to 1. So I was sort of interested in I Will Do It each way, around about 20s. And Sam Thomas has also got a couple of Di Walters owned runners who have yet to see the track this season. Jubilee Express at 14 to 1, good risk at all. Been off the track for almost a year. And that was 25 to 1, did win first time out last season. So given how well the Sam Thomas yard is going, particularly with seasonal debutants, those were the trio I was looking at with. So if I was going to bet one at this stage, it would be I Will Do It each way.
20 to 1 shot as well for I Will Do It, an 11-year-old now. But yeah, Sam Thomas, he does have such a strong hand in a race that, of course, he would love to win it yet again then. Dave, did you want to look at the Welsh Grand National at all?
No, not anymore after Mr. Van Gogh won at Sandown when I was waiting for him to win here. So yes, we'll move on from there, please.
Oh, he's blown your price, hasn't he? 6 to 1 heading the way, Mr. Van Gogh. What a story that would be, though, for the Bradstocks. We would all, of course, absolutely love to see that. Now, we wanted to cover Chepstow because we wanted to round up the domestic action. Well, I say domestic, this side of the Irish Sea action, because, of course, looking ahead then to the other key Kempton contests, that's not easy to say in itself, the Christmas Hurdle and the Courto Star Novices Chase. Of course, we don't know what's going to run at this stage, so it's pretty pointless for us as we record on the 19th of December now to be previewing these races. So our focus now is very much going to be Irish based for the duration. So we're going to switch back in time now to Boxing Day. Now St. Stephen's Day, of course, as we're on the Irish front. Now back to Leopardstown. 220, the Racing Post long distance novices chase, grade 1 contest, 4-year-olds and over 3 miles and half a furlong. Dave, what did you like here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good looking race in the fact that Impere Pass was the second coming, wasn't he, when he won that Ballymore Novices Hurdle a couple of years ago. Didn't all go to plan last season in his first year in open company. But if you actually wind it back and read it logically, he was behind Tiapu and a Hatton's Grace, where the trip was extended even further and it was on really bad ground. I thought that was a decent effort. And obviously Tiapu backed that up in the spring by winning the Stairs Hurdle. He then ran second to State Man. And obviously State Man is a champion hurdler and a very good horse, despite the fact that he got turned over earlier this season. And then again, behind State Man, he did run third, but it was a change of tactics. They tried to go and make the pace, and then it all sort of went a little bit wrong. But then when they spun him into the spring, they skipped Cheltenham. There was questions of whether he might be a Stairs Hurdle horse. We've still got to find out about his stamina, but they ran him at Aintree, a nose beaten of Bob Ollinger. Langadown was close up as well. Then went to Sandown and really franked that form by slamming Langadown. I say slamming, it was only a couple of lengths, wasn't it? But he was giving him a couple of pounds as well. But still managed to pick up a grade 1 and a grade 2 and had 2 grade 1 seconds and a grade 1 third. Now, his chase debut looked real good. It was obviously going to look good because he was a 2 to 13 favourite. Willie Mullins has won this race in the past with some nice types. The only couple of other entries he's got are Key to Bourbon and High Class Hero, who have yet to see fences publicly. So I don't know whether they'd run, and I don't think they would. I think Impere Pass just looks the absolute class horse in this race. I think he'll be fine staying this trip. At least he's going to find out in here because he's just got so much in hand on all of them. So as much as it is a short price favourite in this particular race, I think he's got a proper chance of doing it. Gordon's won, I think, 4 of the last 7 renewals this race, so he's going to have a few horses that will go in here. But I just don't think any of their form stands up to what Impere Pass can do. So I fully expect that he might be weak in the market for the fact that we don't know if he definitely stays. Anything odds against about Impere Pass would look a fairly strong bet to me.
Okay, fairly strong bet if you can continue to get those odds against then about Impere Pass, bidding for a full-timer technically then as well, currently heading the way for that grade 1. Andrew, what did you think of this race?
Yes, it's not easy to pick holes in the form of Impere Pass. I did look at his Leopardstown record. He's 0 from 2 here. That sounds great. We'll take him on. Then you realise it's behind State Man on each occasion. Yeah, when he was the sort of second or third string, and he's run well. The race he had no right to win. I mean, this has been a good race for Gordon Elliott, as Dave was mentioning. In the last 10 years, he's winning 5-4 against Willie Mullins, with Jessica Harrington weighing in with the other win. So, I mean, better days ahead. He did win on his chase debut at left-handed Nava, but he did sort of go quite markedly out to his left. So, although this track in theory will suit, he's also yet to win in graded company. So, I would favour Croke Park, who does seem to peak early season. He's 4 from 4 in the October to December period. His form tends to tail off in the spring, and he's about 133 to 1 second favourite. He's won both starts over fences, and I thought I'll just take him as a sporting alternative to the favourite.
Okay, you two, though, siding with those two at the head of the market as it currently stands. Dave with Impere Pass, then Andrew, sportingly so, with Croke Park, bidding for his own hat-trick, and another one then for Gordon Elliott, potentially to go in that grade 1. Right, we're on to the 27th of December now, still sticking at Leopardstown, though. And the 110 is the Paddy's Rewards Club Chase, grade 1 contest, 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 1. Gaelic Warrior already a short price. For all that, he has just leveled off somewhat. He did open up at about 4 to 6 then, now at 11 to 10. Gaelic Warrior for this one. Founder 50, Marine National, Dino Blue, Captain Guinness. Great race, Dave.
It is a great race, and it's headlined by Gary. We've got Gary Gaelic Warrior.
Here he is.
His Arkle performance was nothing short of remarkable, and obviously that's doing that as a novice that started out the season as a Stayers hurdle favourite. He's running the same race like last year, his first chase start that Ballyburn started out in. So we're potentially not going to get clues in that front, but now he's dropped back to 2 miles. Like, he was favourite for a King George not so long ago before Willie Mullins took him out. So it potentially shows how versatile and good the horse is. But as much as I love him, and I do like the horse in terms of his ability, and we know that he's a worthy favourite in here, he throws in howlers all the time. Like, even when he ran behind Fat Fardy, he was just terrible that day. Got beat at Punchdown last season. He's been beaten in the past, hasn't he? So he's not by any means bomb-proof. And for all he's there to be shot at in this particular race, it's pretty windy behind. Founder 50 looked better when he ran over 2 miles, 3.5. I thought he was more of like a Ryan Airy type. I don't think he's going to have the speed to be able to handle this type of race. Marine National doesn't look like he can breathe, but apparently Barry Connell's got him all sorted now, hasn't he? And we've had a couple of favourites turned over in this. Captain Guinness was one, I think, last year in Chacon Boursois a couple of years ago. But Dino Blue won this race last year. Now, I'm not definitely sure if she's going to run or not because she's drifted a bit in the market. She's 5 to 1 out to 8 to 1 at the time that we recorded this on the 19th. But she gets mare's allowance in here. She's rated 157. As much as she ran well in that mare's chase on bad ground, I think her best trip is this 2 miles. And I talked about the Hilliway chase before when we talked about Banbridge and the King George. She was £10 wrong with Energumene that day, and everyone's saying that Energumene's back and he's going to go and win a champion chase. She was very well backed that day as well. She was about 4 to 1 in the morning, but the night before she was 6 or 7 to 1. Sent off at 5 to 2 that day, giving him £10 and was beaten 10 lengths. So look, she didn't run as well as the market might have suggested, but she'll come on bundles for that run. Took this race 12 months ago, so 8 to 1 looks like an absolute rip as far as I'm concerned for an each way play. I will just mention it, but it's not going to happen. If Banbridge ran in here, he's currently 20 to 1. But if Banbridge ran in this race, I would be having a lump on him because I think he is a 2-miler, but he's not running. So Dino Blue or Dino Blue. I believe you've sat on her a few times, Kate, haven't you?
She's my WhatsApp picture. Yeah, she's my, I know, as if I haven't mentioned it beforehand, that she is my absolute princess. Absolutely adore Princess Dino. So yeah, really hoping that she can go and defend her crown in this, despite that drift. Like I say, she's about 8 to 1 now. So yeah, not entirely sure, but hopefully she'll go in this one all the same. But really competitive contest. Gary is heading the way, Gaelic Warrior. Yeah, Banbridge is going over to the King George instead of this 2-mile 1 contest. Andrew, what do you think?
Really tricky, isn't it? I mean, my sort of default position with Gaelic Warrior is to pose him when he goes left-handed because he jumps out to his right. But of course, when he did that, when he won at Cheltenham, he didn't do that at all, did he? Because he got a lead, and they were saying it's only when he's in front that he jumps out to the right. When he can get a lead from another horse, it doesn't happen. But given the balance of his form, left-handed, I want to take him on. Found a 50. Is obvious alternative. Captain Guinness, I mean, he was 6 to 4 favourite when pulled up last year when reportedly clinically abnormal. He was second in the race year before, but well beaten. Dino Blue, I can see the case for that one. But I think really I'll just lay Gaelic Warrior and pray for anything else.
Lay Gary. Okay, then that is the way that Andrew's going to play this one. But yeah, super competitive contest field that we're not anticipating all of those that are currently priced up to be running in it, but all the same, loads to look forward to. Right, the 145 at Leopardstown. The following race is the Future Champions Novices Hurdle Grade 1 contest, 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. Now this one is more open according to the betting than day for this one, and of course loads entered up at present, and what the final race will look like, not sure, but we're going to do a lot of learning.
Yeah, we definitely are. This is a good looking race because as it stands at the moment, we've got Salvatore Mundi, Romeo Coolio and Blue Devassi all in contention. I see no reason why Gordon Elliott won't run Romeo Coolio and Blue Devassi against each other, and I see no reason why Willie Mullins would hold on to Salvatore Mundi any longer than he needs to. This horse was, of course, second to Sergino in France. The Donnelly's bought both of them. He managed to run, I think it was 6th in a Triumph Hurdle on his first start after 330 days, when clearly they wanted to retain his novice status. Imagine that. Imagine just being a horse in a stable, just turning up in a Grade 1 Triumph and finishing 6th. And you think how many juveniles there are that are race across the whole of the season. He's got to be better than 90% of those just for turning up at Cheltenham in a Grade 1. when he won at the start of this year, so in May, when he won we shed his maiden hurdle status, he was wearing a hood. They took the tongue tie off, and he went miles clear, and he was like long odds on. But he just absolutely battered the field. To win by like a couple of furlongs as he did is no mean feat. He got an RPR of 135 that day, and obviously it's like sort of tenuously used when you're looking at wide margin victories in there. But you go back to a couple of recent Supreme winners. You look at Slade Steel, and you look at Marine National when they won it. They did 100 like mid 120s for their first time up RPR when winning, like losing their maiden tag. So like the figures will stack up, I think, in time. He's currently favourite for a Supreme as well. Willie Mullins has targeted or mentioned in his stable tours that he thinks this is where the horse is going. I have very little doubt that he's going to go off favourite for a Supreme hurdle in March. So at the moment when we're recording this, he's a 2-to-1 shot for this future champions. Appreciate it's the last horse that won this and then won the Supreme for Willie Mullins. I think Salvatore Mundi's an absolute good thing, and obviously gambling responsibly, etc. It may be by the time you're watching this, if you have waited till Boxing Day, he could be a long odds on shot. But I think he's definitely got the beating of Romeo Coolio, who lost last time out. And Blue Devassi does look like the chief threat, has been very impressive. And again, like I say about the way that I think people are getting much more of an insight into this than they might think they'll get. But Blue Devassi is related to a horse called Samai. A friend of mine had a share in that horse, Samai. I got to see him at Harry Fry's. He literally was an absolute donkey. So he's not as royally bred. Not that that always matters. Obviously, horses can do everything independently. But there's just something about Blue Devassi's performances that look very good. Got some good numbers in there as well. But I truly believe all the hype around Salvatore Mundi. I think he is this year's Supreme winner. So can't wait to see him. 2-to-1 anti-post looks fine, but obviously tread carefully, because if he doesn't get declared, you've already lost your money, haven't you?
Are you still friends with your friend who owns that Harry Fry horse?
I am still friends with him, yeah.
After calling his horse that. That's a sign of a true friendship in itself. So yes, nicely done. A good bit of insight as well. But yeah, Salvatore Mundi, a confidence selection then for Dave. Currently 2-to-1 as well for that grade 1. Andrew, what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's been a good race for Gordon Elliott, this one as well in recent years, although it's very hard to support Romeo Coolio after that defeat when 2-to-1 on at Fairyhouse last time in Grade 2 company. So I've been preferring Blue Devassi of his runners, but of the Mullins lot, I prefer Ballygunner Castle. Now I know the first 5 finished in a bit of a heap in that Fairyhouse maiden last time, but it was 25 runners. It looks a strong race. So this one was chinned on his debut, then won his next 2 in bumpers, and he overcame a lot of problems in running. He was very novice-y. He got hampered by a loose horse. He got carried this way and that way. And I thought he showed a really good attitude to win. He was well supported, 9-2 into 3-1 that day. And I thought there's a lot more to come from him. So Ballygunner Castle for me, currently priced at 8-1. But we don't know running plans at this stage, so I wouldn't want to back him anti-post and risk losing a stake.
Yeah, that's the key, really, isn't it? Especially with Willie Mullins bingo, cliche alert then in itself. But yeah, 8-1 shot currently, like I say, jockey bookings and everything wise, we have no idea then at this stage. But Ballygunner Castle for Andrew at this point. All right, we're going to switch to the 28th of December now. Still sticking at Leopardstown though. The 2 o'clock is the SAVILLS hurdle, otherwise known as the Christmas hurdle. 4-year-olds and over 2 miles, 7.5 furlongs. Now, home by the Lee, I've never been to Leopardstown before to know where the stables are in comparison to the track. But he absolutely rocketed home at Navan. And it was said by his trainer, Joseph O'Brien, that, well, if you actually look at where Navan's stables are, that's what caught his eye. And that's why he was able to finish as well as he did. And that's why he also travelled through the race, because for, in the nicest way, one of the laziest horses in racing throughout his races, he fairly took a hold of the bit at Navan last time out, Dave. So are we expecting to see the same from him? Where are the stables at Leopardstown?
I mean, I don't know where they are. I mean, I do get romantic with all sorts of stuff, but even I don't buy into that he saw the stables and got excited and stuff. Look, he was getting £5 from Bob Ollinger last time, wasn't he? And he won by 3 and a bit lengths. I know on figures you might be able to say that, I don't know, it could have potentially finished closer, but that was his race to lose, and he didn't. He went and won, so fair play to him. He did take this race in the past, didn't he, a couple of years ago, but then was really, really bad in it last year. And this Mullen hurdle you've talked about has been a race that's been used by Bob Ollinger for a couple of years. In that race in 2022, when Home by the Lee won this, Bob Ollinger was actually sent off 7-4 favourite for this race, and it was a bit more testing than I think it'll be this year. But it was sort of, I guess, sort of Bob's first foray into 3-mile hurdling, and as much as he's much older now, he potentially might see the trip out better. It's a hard one because Hewitt's not going to come to the King George apparently, and he's going to come in here. You've got Noble Yates that ran and won a Cleve hurdle at Cheltenham as well. And as much as I love Bob Ollinger, and I know he's a really good horse, and like you said, Home by the Lead races a bit lazily, but obviously clearly has got ability. I feel like we're probably potentially ripe for an upset, but I don't know where it would come from, if I'm honest. And there's nothing that would tempt me sort of anti-post prices to see how that goes. As it stands at the moment, we've got Home by the Lead at 5-2, and we've got Bob Ollinger at 7-2. Just because of how they were priced in 2022, even though the result went the other way round, I think I'd still want to side with Bob Ollinger. I think Big Bad Bob can get his revenge. I think that Lismullen hurdle run would have set him up nicely for this. And then I feel like tactically, Home by the Lead got the run of the race in 2022, and it might not happen this time round. But I feel when I say that out loud, I'm possibly being stupid, because I can imagine there's so many people at home just look at this thinking, Home by the Lead's coming in the form of his life after beating Bob Ollinger, and has won this race in the past. There's loads of horses that are chasers that are coming back hurdling. It probably is a 2-horse race, and Home by the Lead's got the beating of him. So I'm sort of on the fence of it. But if you had to force me for a selection, not that anyone is, I would side with Bob Ollinger. But this would be a race that I'll be watching rather than betting him.
You side with Bob over Lee in this one, but yes, and especially with these kind of characters as well, and these tricky customers, that perhaps that is just the best advice of all at this point, is just to watch and enjoy it and see what happens. But if Dave was forced for a selection, which I actually am not doing so, but it would be Bob Ollinger then. Andrew, which of these monkeys comes to the fore?
Yeah, it's Home by the Lead. I've had a funny relationship with him because I was really keen on him for the 2023 Stayers Hurdle, where he was one of my fame and glories of improve at the age of 8. So when he won as a 7-year-old twice in late 2022, I thought he's going to be even better next year. And then he got beat by Cider Burley. He ran a funny old race, made a complete Horlicks of one of the hurdles, then somehow recovered to stay on well, only go down by less than 4 lengths. Didn't really sort of build on that, and then like once they took the headgear off, he bounced back to form last time. He's got a really good record at this time of year, so October to December, 5 wins from 11 starts, 4 places. Like Dave said, he did run a stinker in this race last year on heavy ground, which he does handle, but I thought he seemed to appreciate the better ground at Navan last time out. So I'm going to go with him again, Home by the Lead, and hope he can continue with good record at this time of year.
Yeah, and like you say, he has done, hasn't he? But no, he's a funny horse. So I am looking forward to that all the same. Right, we're going to switch over to Limerick now. They have just changed the time of this race. It was scheduled for 2:15. It's now at 1:40. This is a grade 1 FAUGHEEN at novices chase 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 3.5 furlongs. We get to see Ballyburn again in this one. He is currently an odds-on shot at 4-5. Imperial Pass has entered up in here as well, as is Better Days Ahead, Croke Park. So again, we've got, Dave, those horses that are cross-entered, but Ballyburn, though, he is a hot pot for this one.
Yeah, and rightly so. I think he's the best novice chaser that is racing this season. I think whichever trip Willie Mullins decides to run him out, he will win. And I touched on the Gaelic Warrior stuff from before. He took in the same beginner's chase, and he's taken in this FAUGHEEN novice chase that Gaelic did. And as much as Gaelic went and won an Arkle, like I say, he was favourite for Brown's Advisory, and he was favourite for a Stayers Hurdle at some point as well. So I just can't see how he possibly gets beat. I think there is some odds against about him in the moment. This is the only race that he's going to run in. So again, short-term anti-post is a bad way to bet, because if they don't run, obviously you lose your money beforehand. And also, this won't be his be-all and end-all of the season. I remember years ago now when Valtor got beat by Clarkham in a beginner's chase, made a massive mistake, and then they obviously just minded the horse, which correctly you would do. That was on Boxing Day, and that rings in my head so much for these sort of I don't want to say mug punter bets, but you know what I mean, that the muggy yackers where people throw in these short price horses. If he's just too short a price to bet, just leave him out of those types of bets, because anything can happen. They're going to mind him, but he's an absolute aeroplane. He will absolutely dot up in here. And then you look at a horse like Jerry Colomb that won this a couple of years ago. That's what I see in Ballyburn. As much as he could win an Arkle as well, I think he is going to be a stay-in chaser for the future. So I think he'll go for the Browns in Cheltenham. Not that that's the question for now. The question for now is he will just win the FAUGHEEN novices chase, unless something, like I say, happens where he makes a big mistake and they'll mind him. But you didn't see that in his chase debut, that he looks like he's got a mistake in him. But then you wouldn't think Vitor did either, would you?
You would not have done. No, you definitely wouldn't have done. So yeah, there is always that opportunity, but that's why he's not a 1 to whatever shot though, and he's sort of 4-5, which looks an absolute gimme of a price, because yeah, he does just look an aeroplane. Only beaten once in his career as well now, so hopefully he will take this on the way to even more prizes. Andrew, are you in agreement, or are you going to take him on?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, because you look at the the next sort of 4 or 5 in the betting, you know, Impero Pass, Better Days Ahead, Croke Park, they've all got entries in other races. And although you'd imagine Gordon Elliott would split Better Days Ahead and Croke Park and run one of them here, you still think that Ballyburn, you know, round about 5 to 4 on now, you know, 1.8 on the exchange, it's going to be more like 1.5 on the day when a few of these drop out. And there is an argument for trading him and just hoping there's no sort of treading on a stone on the morning of the race or anything like that, because you'll do your money. So yeah, I thought he's very, very difficult to oppose, and I know, you know, 1 or 2 people were sort of trying to pick holes in that Chase Debbie performance. You know, he was 11 at 2 on. I don't think you can really. I know he didn't, you know, particularly beat anything, but you look on the balance of his hurdling form, he's going to be very, very difficult to beat here, and I think 5 to 4 on will beat SP.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I say definitely so. You would imagine so, wouldn't you? And yeah, looks a bit of a gimme though at this stage ahead of the FAUGHEEN Novices Chase. Right, we're going to switch back to Leopardstown again now, still on the 28th of December for the 2:30. Now, this is the SAVILLS Chase. Grade 1 contest, 5 rods and over 3 miles and half a furlong. Now, Factfile and Galopin Des Champs are vying for favouritism. 7 for the pair of those two, Jerry Colom's, Balance Towers in here. So we've got loads and loads of exactly what we want to see for these open company staying chasers, these graded grade 1 horses. I mean, for all that we don't have Fast or Slow, which is obviously so unfortunate then for connections with his setback. But Dave, I feel like we should just take this moment just to appreciate our staying chase division at the minute, because it's quite rare to have this amount of talent, and we're being treated to them just battling in these top quality contests every couple of months at the present. We're being spoiled rotten.
Absolutely, yeah. And these are the types of races you look at and they just make you smile. Even the John Durkan, regardless of how the race was running and the fact that it was one of the most exciting renewals we've seen for years, you could tell it was going to be by the entries, couldn't you? And obviously having the King George on the same week as having this, you wouldn't be shocked to see if there was just a real short price favourite and people were dodging each other. But no, we've got Factfile going up against Galopin Des Champs. Galopin Des Champs in this race last year, for me, is the best I've ever seen Galopin Des Champs. Like, he absolutely destroyed them. And it was one of those performances I looked at and just thought, I can't think of a horse in the last decade that would have been able to get anywhere near him. So horses that were miles behind him that day wouldn't necessarily want to upgrade the form, but I would just say no one was going to get anywhere near Galopin Des Champs last year. Whether he's going to be the same this year, though, obviously remains to be seen, because his John Durkan run this year was very good. Went out and set the fractions, did the best of the horses at the front, did kind of set it up a bit, I think, for Factfile and Spillane's Tower, but I'm probably being harsh on both of those. And Factfile's doing nothing wrong, is he? But to be 7 to 4 joint favourite with Galopin Des Champs, who is a 2-time Gold Cup winner and, like I say, was unreal in this race last year, I think feels a little bit skinny, but I'm potentially going to be wrong about the horse. It might just be he's a worldie. The one that I will definitely bet in here, I did the trends for this race, and all winners this century have come from the first 4 in the betting, even though there's normally a reasonable size field in here. If you were to bet the 3rd and the 4th in the betting, just blind, you would have made a very healthy return on investment. It's been 50% of them for the century and for the last 10. This isn't the sole reason why I'm doing it, but I'm a big fan of Jerry Colomb anyway. And his running down Roar was so bad. It was nothing like what he did prior. He didn't finish his race out. And Gordon Elliott said he's found a few niggly issues with him. Now, 12 months ago, he was 7 to 4 second favourite behind Galopin Des Champs in this race. And yes, he was beaten out of sight, but he still came second. He's 8 to 1 now. 3 places up for grabs, a fifth of the odds. I think he looks a knock in each way bet. Last year, his down Roar run was good. So when they came into this one, I guess they would have had less to work on. Galopin Des Champs, his John Durkan run last year was worse than it was this year. So they would have had more to work on. So they're coming into this from different planes of attack. So I don't think the distance that they had between them last year will stand up this time round. And Gordon's going to need to have Jerry Colomb fully wound up for this race. And it's a race that he does really well in. He's got a much better strike rate than Willie Mullins has. So I think Jerry Colomb at 8 to 1 just looks a knock in each way bet. I think he'll definitely be in the frame as long as he's back to his best. And who knows, Galopin Des Champs unseated in the past. Factfile's still got to prove in open company at this distance that he can do it. He just looks a big price. So I'm Team Jerry for this, but I'm prepared to be wrong.
Team Jerry, yeah, for win purposes, then prepared to be wrong. But for an each way play, 8 to 1 then in here, like you say, then he does just look next in behind those two who are vying for that favouritism, jumping straight to 8 to 1 then for Jerry Colomb for the each way play for Dave. Andrew.
The belting race. You look at it last year, there were 4 7-year-olds. They finished 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 horses aged 8 or older. They finished out, out the back. So if you are looking for an each way play, sort of maybe look to youth. You look at the likes of Spillane's Tower, who was only half a length behind Tractor File at Punchestown last time out. He looks most progressive. And the one I thought I was going to have a speculative each way bet on, assuming he runs here. He's still a novice, officially, though he has had 7 runs over fences. And it's Heartwood at 40-1 for Henry de Bromhead. Only just got chinned by Croke Park at Fairyhouse last time. And you look at his record over fences, second, first, third, first, second, never out the first 3. He's only chased one here at Leopardstown. He's won by 25 lengths at the DR. Sorry, won by 14 lengths in the field of 25 at the DRF. And he does seem to be progressing. And you're only looking for third. You can be 20. You can be 30 lengths behind Factor File and Gallopin des Champs, and still pick up the place money. So I'll go for the 6-year-old Heartwood.
Oh, 40-1 shot as well then for Henry de Bromhead there at a course that he has previously won at as well. So nice way to play that one. That is the SAVILLS Chase at Leopardstown. Right, we're going to move to the 29th of December now, still at Leopardstown, but for the 2:30. Now, this is the Neville Hotels Hotel, otherwise known as the December Hurdle, otherwise known as the Matheson's Hurdle. Grade 1 contest, 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. State Man, 4-7 in here, Dave. So is that justified?
It depends, I suppose. It depends if Brighter Days Ahead does run against him, because the market would suggest she probably won't. And then Lossiemouth could come over for the Christmas hurdle. So between now recording this on the 19th and when it goes out, maybe on the 23rd or something, or even by the time we get final decks, the complexing could change. But if we stand it up that State Man's probably going to have nothing of significance to beat, State Man will probably just dot up in this. It was interesting last time out, because obviously he did get beat by Brighter Days Ahead, but when he hit the front, I couldn't believe that she went past him. So it's kind of an interesting thought for the rest of the season, in the fact that, is she so good that she managed to topple State Man when he hit the front, which hardly any other horse apart from Constitution Hill's been able to do? Or is State Man gone and over the hill? And I suppose if you've got a race like this that might cut up, and there's a chance that he's going to be long odds on, and it may be that he's not as good as he used to be, which is a mad thing to say considering he's still a baby, really, there might be something at a price to take him on. But it's going to be Willie Mullins horses that go up against him. It'll be a little bit like Aidan O'Brien on the flat, but they're probably not going to want to get State Man beat. They want to get his head in front again. So I envisage he'll be long odds on, especially if Brighter Days Ahead doesn't go in against him. But I wouldn't want to play in the race. I'd rather just sit back and hope that State Man's back to be brilliant best.
Yeah, you just said about him being relatively still a baby. I can't believe he's still 7. I know that he'll be turning 8 then in a few weeks' time, but even so, still 7. I say he feels like he should be in veterans chases veterans hurdles, senior hurdles before too long though. But yeah, he is a short price already because of the nature that the race is likely to cut up. And if it does do exactly that, then he's going to be shorter again. Andrew?
Yeah, I think State Man will win. He's won every completed start here. He fell once the first time he ran at this track. He's gone 4 from 4 here since, and I was slightly surprised by that defeat on his comeback. But like you say, he's only 7, but he does seem to have been around for a long time. And assuming Brighter Days Ahead and Lossiemouth don't turn up here, I think I'd still back him, even if Brighter Days Ahead was here as well. So I think he's going to be hard to beat, and certainly wouldn't put you off the sort of State Man Banbridge, anti-post double, but both odds on, and hope they turn up in very weak fields.
Bamber, is it what's his
Ballyburn.
face? Ballyburn.
That's what I meant, not Banbridge.
No worries. I just wanted to clarify. I was like, have I completely missed something? What race is he actually? I thought he was going King George. There you go. Ballyburn. Yeah, Ballyburn State Man, then likely to be very short prices, the pair of those. So should the races cut up, as we imagine, not to put anyone off of those whatsoever. Andrew, did you want to look at anywhere else at all?
Yeah, the only other race that I tend to sort of look at over the Christmas period in any great detail is the CHALLOW Hurdle at Newbury. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's been a really good record for favourites, race for favourites in recent years. In the last 10 years, 11 favourites or joint favourites have run. 8 of them have won for a profit of £7.75, 4 from 4 for Paul Nicholls. Now, there was a Nicholls runner, Captain Bellamy, who won at Newbury earlier this week, despite racing into the headwind and making the running into the headwind. So I was quite impressed by that. I thought he might be interesting if going to the CHALLOW. I think he's going to lose that Newbury race because his jockey hit him 11 times or something like that. So when the whip committee fairly end their Christmas party, he could well lose the race. But look out for what Nichols runs in the Challow, and if Captain Bellamy does turn up, then maybe he's worth a punt.
I love a Christmas party. I love a party of any sort. That is the one party I would not want to go to be honest. That sounds a terrible party to go to. But yes, that is on the 28th of December at Newbury, the Grade 1 Challow Novices Hurdle. But to be honest, no one really knows what day it is by that point anyway. As soon as you see that Newbury's on, you'll know that race is on the card. Dave, did you want to look anywhere else?
No, I'm good with all the stuff we've looked at. There is some fascinating stuff, and that Challow hurdle that Andrew's touched on has got the potential to be a real good one. It was nice and competitive last year, but we touched on Bill Joyce in the weekend watch for last weekend's racing. I think that horse is going to go there. Looks like it could be another deep renewal, so there'll be lots and lots of clues from that Newbury meeting.
Yeah, definitely loads of clues throwing forwards, but also just good action in its own right. Anyway, right, we've covered a lot, lads, a lot of Irish action as well, but such is the nature of the races, the way that they're teed up at present. That's all we really have to go on as it currently stands. So big thank you to the pair of you two for all of your hard work as per usual. Big thank to you for watching. Enjoy the festive period. It's going to be a good one. It's brilliant for us racing fans, isn't it? Our Christmas day is on Boxing Day. So enjoy the action and a very Merry Christmas from all of us.